Welcome back to the garage. It is another hot and humid day down here in Arkansas, but I want to see if I can get into one of these axles today. If you missed the last video, the Bantam actually got to leave the garage for once, and it went on a 6-hour round trip down to southeast Arkansas to pick up a couple of axles. From what I understand, they're CJ2A axles, Dana 41 and a Dana 25, so they should be correct, but they're in completely unknown condition. They've been sitting on a pallet outside for a very long time, so they're probably not in good shape. But if they're rebuildable, we'll get them rebuilt. Well, that took a little bit more effort than I thought it would. I may have lost about 50 pounds this year so far, but I haven't quite replaced it with muscle yet. Even so, this thing's probably about 150 pounds, so that's quite a bit to lift alone. It's much easier to load with two of us. Well, let's see what we've got here. Is this actually missing most of the pinion seal? That's not encouraging. Should be a Dana 41. I'm pretty sure we can see the 41 in the casting down here, except for the lighting. Yeah, the casting number looks correct. Everything on it looks correct. This appears to be the remnants of olive drab paint. So these might be older than I think, but they are the correct axles. This drum is done for. Missing a big chunk there. There's no cover on the nut, so it's been rusted. Missing a couple wheel studs. We have all the studs on this side, and the hub nut is covered, so maybe that'll come off more easily. And he wanted to keep the leaf springs, so I have to get these U-bolts off. But yeah, that's out on the farm fresh. This is probably going to be a multi-day ordeal, soaking these down with some penetrating oil and using some heat, trying to knock it all loose. I do see that the vent holes are both open, so it's probably full of water and rust. On the Jeep's axle, the vent holes were just coated in grease and stuff, so water wasn't gonna get in. This might be rough. I think I'm just about, yeah, there we go. Got this loose and coated in grease and mud. Maybe that protected it from rust. We'll see. Really? Okay, well, I'll take it. I can actually see the little Woodruff key in there. Fortunately, this thing was covered, so it's probably gonna come out okay. Even the cotter pin was intact. So here's something that's good for people to remember. If you're going through an old axle like this, back in the day, they did things differently. I don't know if this camera will show it, but the end of these studs have the letter L on them. L for left. This is the driver's side, their left-hand thread. So backwards of what you're used to. One of the things about vintage Jeepers is that you notice that they accumulate a lot of parts. And there's a reason for that. Case in point. I have a whole container here of wheel studs from this Jeep from before, but I kept the left-handed lug nuts. And I just need 3 of them that'll still lefty-tighty screw on there. Yeah, there we go. And here I thought I wouldn't get a ton of use out of this. Oop, gave her the beans. Whoops. Good enough. No way. There's no way it's coming off that easy. Wow, these brake shoes look amazing. There is a ton of material left on them. Probably asbestos too. And save the key. Yeah, someone went jeeping in these. All kinds of mud. Given the overall way that these are, I did not expect there to be a spring in here. This side was barely even on. There's no cotter pin. Threads aren't even all that crusty. Okay, that's not what I was expecting. One of those 2-piece brake drums. Guess we've had more than a few dirt daubers in here over the years, haven't we? Go. Yeah, that was great. I guess perhaps the most telling thing so far is that I've got the drums off both ends. It should be able to spin freely, but it doesn't. So this thing's probably full of rust and it's probably toast. Snapped off the bolt for the brake fitting on that one. Cracked right open. I'm not hopeful here. Oh. Still got water in it. This does not spark joy. YouTube hasn't implemented smell-o-vision, so fortunately you don't have to deal with that, but so far this does not look good at all. I guess it'll depend on how pitted these gears are. Bottom half might be okay, top half don't know. Well, I guess at this point I know it's cooked, but this stuff says it'll free all. Let's test that. Just having fun with it at this point anyways. So, which of the saints is the patron saint of lost causes? So it was about at this point yesterday that I snapped a couple of pictures of it and posted them on a Facebook group for Vintage Jeep discussion. And I got about the responses that I was expecting. There's usually about two camps. Kind of funny to see the duality of man playing out there. One group, of course, and I agree with them, was saying, this is junk, it's a boat anchor, it's toast, throw it away, and go find yourself another one to start with. And I don't disagree. It's pretty rough. But then there's the other camp who's like, oh, I've seen worse. Soak it in vinegar, do some electrolysis, bead blast the gear. It might be a little loud, but it'll run for thousands of miles. It'll be fine. And some of the more extreme ones who are just like, soak the whole thing in vinegar and run it as is. It'll work. No, sorry, it won't. These bearings are absolutely shot. And of course there's another camp that's kind of a mix of the two who are saying, go find a Dana 44 and swap that in instead. And I don't disagree. It is a better axle. It's got a beefier ring gear and there's a lot more aftermarket support for it. You can actually get parts for it, unlike the Dana 41. But if I just go find a drop-in ready Dana 44, I won't learn anything. And this is my first axle that I've had apart like this, aside from the one that's on the Jeep. It wasn't really fully apart. So, true to the name of the channel, I want to go ahead and sink some money into it, and maybe through that I will learn something. Not just a valuable lesson about money, but actually some skills about how to handle one of these rebuilds, how to actually get the backlash set and everything, you know? So, I'm gonna go ahead and finish tearing this down, get the two backing plates off, see if I can get the axle shafts out without too much difficulty. And we'll get this carrier assembly out and see just truly how bad it is. And for reference, I have watched all of Metal Shaper's videos on the topic. Brian is very thorough in his videos. I actually was able to find that whoever was in here last, because someone was in here last, they put the bearing retainers on either upside down or on the wrong side, probably both. You can see way too much of the race out here, so I have a few things that I at least know how to correct already. But let's continue on. Let's see where this goes. Well, the spring continued to hold on until the end. Ugh, this will be fun to tear into. There don't appear to be many threads left to contend with, so at least there's that. Remarkable, didn't let go. Let's just keep all this together exactly as we found it. Pretty sure all these shims are important. About as expected. Bearings are rusted and seized. And about the same over here. There is some grease in it, but there's also a ton of rust. Ooh, these are Japanese races. So definitely someone's been in here. Oh, I made a mistake. A rookie mistake at that. Anyone see the problem here? Go ahead, take a guess. Leave a comment below. Tell me what I did not think ahead about. So it's been a few days. I've been thinking on this one while the penetrating oil does its thing, and my slide hammer has turned out to be woefully inadequate so far. So what one would normally do in this situation is build yourself a puller. You would go to your shop's box of billet scrap Vinium. Every good shop has one. Reach inside and find some nice plate steel, and that is woefully inadequate. And besides, I don't have a welder, so I've got to get creative. I liked Metal Shaper's approach because he used, this is the 1" 14 thread per inch thread on this axle shaft, and he used a coupler nut and some bar stock that had been turned down to that same thread pitch to build a very heavy-duty last axle pulley you'll ever need. Well, I don't have that. I do have this hub puller that has the same 1" 14 thread per inch thread on it, and that almost worked in a couple of scenarios, but not quite. So I'm gonna go try a couple other things and see if one of them just happens to work out. Ideally, I would have a cylinder about 3 inches around and maybe about 3 inches tall to have sitting right here underneath to add something for this hub, such as it is, to sit on. I think I can make do with 3 points using these bolts, and that'll make this thing sit too high. And then I can turn this nut and use it to draw the axle shaft out. I don't know if that'll work, but let's find out. So here's what I come up with. I used a rethreading die to clean up the threads. They were bad, long story. I have a 1" 14 coupler nut, and I've got it on here just because I need maximum thread engagement. It's a little bit too long, but that's okay. Now, I'm not usually one to do all the YouTuber merch stuff, so when I bought this hand tool rescue wrench, I figured it would look good over there on the wall, but I wouldn't get much use out of it. This thing has really come in handy for all kinds of stuff I would not have expected. Something like this, and for rethreading stuff. But anyways, I've got 3 bolts equidistant on the hub to kind of try to equal it out. This is the broken one that has pieces of a brake drum on the back of it, so it's not ideal. Again, ideally I'd have a 3" by 3" sleeve of a chunk of pipe to act as my spacer, but I'm about to start wrenching on this thing and see if it pulls the axle shaft out. idea might actually work. Check that out. It has actually moved. This could work. We're going to temporarily change tactics. That wasn't what I intended, but it worked. Oh man, there was no way this bearing would ever spin again. Whew. The shaft's got a little bit of rust on it, but the splines, given what they came out of, the splines are remarkably fine. Well, let's see, follow the persuasion from the other side. We'll reapply to this one. Take 3. It's moving. It's actually come out a little bit. There. Oh, man. Once again, splines aren't too bad, just nasty. Bearing is done. Well, I guess the last question of the day is if this carrier will just come right out. For reference, I already marked these the way they are. I thought these might be upside down and backwards, but I see probably the factory marks. Well, this one might be gone, but this one clearly lines up, so it might actually be just fine. There we go. And yes, as expected, those bearings are junk. Wow. It's just simultaneously crispy, crusty, and greasy. I knew it. I thought one of these looked wrong, and it was this one. I finally see the factory mark right there. It was down here. It was upside down. So, I knew it. So I think that's going to be it for part 1 of the abandoned Dana 41 rear axle. It's mostly torn down, minus a couple things, like the grease zerks are still in. Yes, I realize the pinion is still in there. I do have the nut off the yoke, so theoretically it would just tap right out. But I'm leaving it in for a reason, and that has to do with the de-rusting and cleanup portion of this project. I kind of want to try filling this with Evapo-Rust and just leaving it overnight, because Evapo-Rust does have some detergent properties, so it'll eat away some of the grease and the rust. But that'll all be in part 2. And if I don't end up doing the Evapo-Rust thing, I'll just put a quick clip at the beginning of next video, knocking the pinion out. Should be pretty quick. Famous last words. So thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, entertaining, or perhaps informative in what not to do, leave me a like, leave me a comment, maybe subscribe if you're new here. You might see some more questionable life choices. But thanks again, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye for now. Oh man, it is way too hot out here for this. It is time to rehydrate with beer. Yeah.